Okay. And about a year ago, we had a coffee and she said that Steve is going to become Sophie, and I just thought, wow, because obviously I've known Steve for quite a few years. And we made friends on Facebook and followed the journey, but one of the things I would say is when you really, really believe and find out who you are, oh my God, that changes. Sometimes we get to an old age and still don't know who we are. But for Sophie, making this journey has been quite emotional for us to watch, and actually really, I think, great. She believes totally what she's doing. And the one thing is Dawn is fully behind her, and as you say, is best friend, which I think it means a hell of a lot. So watching this journey, I asked Sophie to come and talk because I think it's a great opportunity for her to tell you her story. But the one thing I believe is if you really, really want to do something in life, you need to really believe in yourself and do it and make those changes. And I believe that's what talking is going to be about. So, right, Sophie? So we're going to introduce you to Sophie Cook.
I'm the club photographer for AFC Bournemouth and also a rock band called the Libertines. At the end of last football season, I was stood there on the pitch at Charlton Athletics Ground, the Valley, as AFC Bournemouth, my lifetime club, who, as you'll being local know, was always 3rd or 4th division, always on the verge of going out of business, got crowned Football League champions and went to the Premier League. This was the greatest day in the history of my football club. I mean, as a kid I used to go and watch them with my dad, with Ted McDougall and Phil Boyer and all this. And let's face it, we were a bit rubbish. No, we weren't rubbish, we were great, but we weren't big time. And for Bournemouth to get to the Premier League was beyond everyone's wildest dreams. So there I am, stood on the side of the pitch at the Valley, and this massive roar goes up from our fans. And at that point I realised that Watford had thrown the league title away and that we were now Football League champions. And at that point I knew that my next hour and a half was going to get really, really busy. There I am, stood on the pitch, players were celebrating, I'm getting sprayed with champagne. Don't do lot for your camera gear, I can tell you that. And then I'm the only non-player in the changing room with the players. And I tell you what, girls, sweaty boys, it's not that good. Anyway, so there I'm on the pitch and they hoist the trophy aloft. And it's the greatest day in the history of my club. It was amazing. And I'm there, I'm right at the centre of it. And yet I was terrified. I was terrified that it was my last ever game in football. Because I knew that I was going to tell them something during the summer that I thought was going to end my career in football. My eldest member of being transgender, I was 7 years old. We went on a family holiday, and as you do on family holidays, you meet other kids, and all week I got them to call me Jenny. No idea where Jenny came from. But at the end of the holiday, my parents came to collect us, and these kids went, "Bye, Jenny," and I just turned around to the parents and went, "Oh my God, weirdos, don't know what they're doing." And then sort of, as I grew up, like about 11 years old, Grease came out, and oh my God, I so wanted to be Olivia Newton-John. And I must admit, Mum got a pair of them spandex trousers, and I did pinch them. But unfortunately, I wasn't Olivia Newton-John. But the thing is, this was the 1970s. I had absolutely no idea what was going on with me. We didn't have the internet. The only stories you'd ever see in newspapers were News of the World was going on about a pervert postman or something who wants to be a 12-year-old girl. This sort of rubbish. So at the age of 12, I attempted suicide for the very first time. My youngest daughter's 12. The thought of her being in that much pain and that much anguish that she would attempt that breaks my heart. at the age of 16, I joined the Royal Air Force. I was third generation Air Force. My dad had been in during the 70s, and my granddad had been out in Burma. I'd been brought up in stories of the Royal Air Force. At 18 years old, I was a jet engine technician on a tornado squadron. One day, one August afternoon, beautiful sunny day, walking across the aircraft site, and we heard this bang. And so you don't expect to hear that, so we immediately ran towards the source of the noise. And one of my colleagues, who was 19, had lost his arm in an explosion. He was 19, I was 18. He wasn't even a friend of mine, he was actually a guy that bullied me. And I was the first one there, and I saved his life. I put a tourniquet on it, saved his life. And within weeks, the Air Force, in their infinite wisdom, because this was 1985, I think, shipped me out to Germany. They had no experience of post-traumatic stress then. We hadn't fought a war in 40 years, and quite frankly, they were ignoring the Falklands, so that didn't count, because that was a conflict, not a war. So they shipped me out to Germany. So I went from all the people that knew what I'd been through to people that talked about it as a rumour and just surmised things. And there's me, having been right at the centre of it, and I'm hearing rumours. I heard that this guy had committed suicide because of his injuries. And there's me already suffering from post-traumatic stress, to then hear that he'd potentially committed suicide because of his injuries. So there I am, 18 years old, stationed in Germany with the Royal Air Force. Exercises at a moment's notice, because apparently we were fighting the Russians, even though we'd occasionally go off to drop bombs on the desert. I've no idea why we were practicing dropping bombs on the desert, even though we were supposedly fighting the Russians. But it turned out it was useful later. 18 years old, transgender, with no idea what that means, post-traumatic stress, depressed, self-harming. I used to carry a razor blade around in my wallet, and we'd be out drinking. I'd go into the toilets and just start cutting myself, and then pull my sleeves back down and go back out, and no one knew. First any of those guys knew was last year when I went to an RAF reunion, 30 years later, when they first met Sophie. I told them. And they went, "Didn't have a clue." And thinking about suicide still. The thing is, we all suffer from trauma. Every one of us has suffered from trauma in our life. For me, it was gender dysphoria, being born into the wrong body. It was that incident in the Air Force. I mean, we all suffer trauma, whether it's losing a loved one, or losing a relationship, or losing a job. And the thing is, it's very easy in our head for everything to seem like the end of the world. You get a scratch in a car in a car park and it feels like the end of the world. But the reality is that actually very, very few things are the end of the world when you really boil down to it. And the thing is that these traumas lead to fear. And that fear then stops us doing things. I mean, my fear at realising who I actually really was meant that I was scared of succeeding. I was scared of failing, but I was also scared of succeeding. I was scared of not being loved. But at the same time, I was also scared of being loved. Any time anything was going too well, I'd sabotage it. If I felt like I was being too happy, I would find a way of breaking it. But the reality is that fear is just us thinking that we can't deal with the outcome of something. If you take the decision that I can cope with anything, then you don't need fear. Fear is saying, if this happens, I won't be able to cope. If you say, if this happens, I'll find a way to cope. I'll find a way of making this work. The thing is, like, fear doesn't go away. Fear's there. People say to me, "Oh, you're fearless." It's like, no, I'm not. Of course I'm still scared. I walk down the street and people abuse me because of who I am. I constantly get called sir. I've just come back from 4 days in Paris, and it's like, Here you go, monsieur, madam. It's like, sorry, I didn't realise you could see my genitals. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure you can't. It's like, but it's like, it's always there, and the fear will always be there. Fear tells you that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. Fear tells you that you're growing, because growth only happens when you step out of your comfort zone. So, you need to overcome that fear, and you need to realise that fear is just nature's way of saying, you know what, this is actually something you may need to think about doing. Because every single time in my life I've been scared, and I've actually decided to step past it, amazing things have happened. I mean, I've run businesses and I've done stupid, audacious, crazy things. I launched a magazine in 2 weeks. Christ, who do that? I mean, but basically, one day I sort of went into the office and I went to the staff. I went, "We're going to launch a magazine, and we're going to press in 2 weeks' time." And within an hour, I designed the front cover of the first issue, and it's just like, right. The thing is, sometimes in life you need these stupid, audacious goals, and they need to be big goals. And you need to set yourself a stupid deadline. Because if you don't set yourself a deadline, and if you just set yourself like little mediocre goals, or wishy-washy goals, I want to be happy. Oh God, what? Who doesn't? Christ, we all want to be bloody happy. So you need to set these goals, and you need to be sure about what you want, and you need to go for it. So there I am. I spent all these years knowing that this was something not quite right about myself, and hating myself because of it. Last January, of all places for an epiphany, the Hotel Ibis budget in Bradford. I mean, when you think of a Damascene moment, you don't think of the Ibis budget in Bradford. I was up there with AFC Bournemouth. We'd played Rotherham on the Saturday, and we were playing Leeds United on the Tuesday or Wednesday. And quite frankly, that's a really long way to go, so I decided to stay up there. And I'm there in this hotel, and all of a sudden, this light bulb went, and it's like, oh my God, that's why you hate yourself so much. The thing is, I previously tried to transition back in 2000, and then Dawn got pregnant with our first child, and the plan was that our child would have two mums from the day they were born. But unfortunately, when our son was born, he had a massive seizure within his first 24 hours, and we nearly lost him, and he ended up disabled. And I thought, I can't do this to the family at the same time as we're working out what his issues are. So I took Sophie, and I killed her, and I buried her for 15 years. People have said to me during those years, did you cross-dress her? No, Sophie was gone, dead and buried. Now imagine taking a very central piece of your soul and just murdering it and burying it and totally denying it. And imagine what damage that does to you. I put on 7 stone weight because I was self-harming with food. I'd stopped using razor blade by that point, and so I was overeating. And every time I put on weight, I could look in the mirror and hate myself even more. It was another way to hate myself. And every single day during those 15 years, even on days when I thought I felt happy, I could be driving down the road and this little voice in the back of my head just go, but if you did that, it will be over. So every single day I thought about suicide for those 15 years. So there I am last January, I had this moment where I realised we've got to fix this. And people have said to me since, what prompted it? What prompted that decision? And I don't know. I honestly believe that I'd reached the point where I either changed something or I ended something. Luckily I chose to change something. So I told Dawn, and I started putting things in place to change my life. Of course, we had to tell the children, and our youngest daughter, who was 11 at the time, being 11, knows all about the Kardashians. So she started asking questions about Bruce Jenner, who was at the time sort of coming out as Caitlyn Jenner. And Dawn said to me, "Oh, should we tell them?" And I went, "I'm not going to miss this chance." So we told them the same day. And I sat down with them. And the thing is, having me for a parent, my children were never brought up with strict gender roles. Because gender roles are just bull. But they just did it. This whole nature versus nurture thing. Our son's a boy. He's obsessed with cars. And our daughter is the girliest girl you've ever met in your life, apart from me. And so we sat down with them, and I went, "You know the way you always knew you were a boy, you always knew you were a girl? Well, unfortunately, I didn't have that. And it made me really, really unhappy. And I'll tell you what, when you sit down with your 11-year-old daughter and have a conversation about suicide, that's a powerful moment, that." So we told them, and then we had to start getting the rest of life in order. I moved to Brighton last June, and I was Sophie in Brighton, and I was coming back here and still pretending to be Steve at weekends. And in July, I was asked to go and photograph a training session with the players on the Monday. Friday, I went to see my hairdresser about potentially getting hair extensions. And she said, "I can do it now." I thought, "I'm not missing this." Halfway through fitting them, I suddenly thought, right, so last time the football club saw me, I was a fat bald bloke. And now I've got nice long hair. And it's not like a wig, I can't take this off. So I'm there Friday afternoon, all afternoon, ringing up the commercial director of the football club. Out of office, not answering his emails, not answering his mobiles. God, I've got to tell him before Monday morning. Saturday afternoon, I finally got him at a family barbecue. And I'm there on the phone, it's like, "Rob, yeah, really, really sorry to do this to you at a family barbecue, but it's something I've got to tell you before Monday." "Oh, what's that?" I'm pretty sure he was thinking, gonna say can't turn up or got something else to do or something. And I just went, "I'm transgender." And it sort of went really quiet. Anyway, off the back of that, I went in for a meeting at the football club, and we're there in the owner's box overlooking the pitch. There's Jeff Mostyn, the chairman of the football club. There's the commercial director, there's the head of media. There's Eddie Howe, the manager, Jason Tyndall, our assistant manager, and me in my pencil skirt and heels. Absolutely fabulous. First time they'd ever met Sophie. And the thing is, I'm pretty sure I was the first trans person they'd ever met as well. So we're there and we talked about it. And it turned out I still had a job, which I was really chuffed about. And Eddie Howe turns around and he says, "What can I do to actually make this easier for you?" I said, "Well, I need to meet the players." Oh, there's some Eddie Howe fans down there again. I said, "I need to meet the players before a match day. I can't just turn up on a match day, be sitting there in the tunnel and them all walking going." So we arranged for me to go in for a training session, and we're there out in the training pitch, and all the boys are off over there warming up. And Eddie comes up to me and says, "Are you scared?" And I went, "You know what? For the first time in my life, I actually feel totally comfortable in who I am, and totally at ease with myself. So no, I don't." And the thing is that we'd already discussed about how we were going to approach it, and we decided that we were going to use banter, just to keep the relationship on the same sort of footing it was on before, and also to let them know that they didn't have to walk on eggshells around me. So Jason Tyndall, the assistant manager, called all the players together, and they're all in a circle there, me sitting next to Eddie and Jason. And Jason says, So guys, you may have noticed our photographer's changed a bit since last season. Grown her hair out. I went, yeah, I've lost a bit of weight. I'd like you all to meet Sophie. And then Tommy Elphick, the captain, just started clapping, and then all the rest of the boys joined in. And then Tommy said, right, let's go and train. And the thing is, I'd built this up in my head so much, I'm sort of thinking, was that it? Where's me moment? Where? But the thing is, it was exactly what was needed. Here's the new information, okay, we got it, let's move on. And that was it. But after the training session, I sat down and I spoke to a lot of the players. And I told them about the self-harming, I told them about the suicide attempts. Because it was really important that they knew that this wasn't a whim, this was actually saving my life. See, the thing is that all of those years, the fear was holding me back. Fear was stopping me from achieving what I could and from being who I really am. My fear was that if I came out, I would never ever work in football again. But actually the reality is that since I came out, I've spoken at Liverpool Football Club, I've spoken at Wembley Stadium for the Football Association, I've spoken at conferences on sport in the city in London and in Glasgow, and I'm speaking at the Emirates soon, and I think I might have wangled Cup final tickets. I contacted the FA, I said, you do realise just by inviting me you've increased the diversity of the Cup final. So yeah, I've got my fingers crossed. And obviously we got knocked out, so I wouldn't have to work that day now anyway. So it's a day off. So, but that's the thing. That fear was terrifying me, and I mean, I look at old photos now of Steve, and sometimes it breaks my heart because there's pictures where I should look happy and I don't, because I was broken. I spent so many years not being who I should be, and although I had the most amazing, wonderful family, I couldn't give them what they were giving me because I was emotionally disconnected from life. The thing is, since I've come out, I've experienced so many things. People have said to me, do you experience bigotry? And I do experience bigotry. Of course I experience bigotry. And I experience bigotry in football, and I experience on the streets. I've had people abuse me, I've had people physically abuse me. And the thing is, it's happened a couple of times at football, and the thing is, sport reflects society. If it's out in society, it's going to happen in a football ground, not the other way around. It's not like it just happens in a football ground. I have friends who are terrified of me going back to football because they thought basically my life would be over and I'd get murdered or something. But I sort of felt quite confident. And after my story broke in the papers back in January, I had a lot of fans come up to me and say, good on you, well done, sort of stay strong, sort of good to see you happy. Because the majority of people actually want to see people happy. The majority of people aren't bigoted. The thing is, the bigots are out there, and I mean, you've got your racists, and you've got your homophobes, and your transphobes, and you've got your sexists. And the thing is, they get left behind by history. And one day, they'll be sat on history's naughty step, and no one will be listening to them anymore. They're shouting into the wind. More and more they are looking like idiots. I mean, you've only got to look at the American election at the moment to see what a bigot shouting into the wind looks like. Unfortunately, some people are thinking of voting for it. But that's the thing. The majority of people are decent and good and open and want other people to be happy. The thing is, my life used to be like Dorothy in Kansas. It was all black and white. But now I feel like I've landed in Oz. I feel happiness like I didn't even know was possible. mean, my emotional state used to be about there. On a good day, I'd be about there. On a bad day, I'd be down here ready to jump off the end of a bridge. Now, my emotional state's about here. On a bad day, I'm still better than I was before. And on a good day, I'm dancing with the unicorns. But it's all about changing your perception, changing your baseline. As soon as I actually realised that happiness was possible and changed my internal dialogue, because most of the pain I had in my life, I did to myself. I would tell myself horrible things. You're ugly, you're worthless, you don't deserve to be happy, you don't deserve love. And the thing is, if you can cause that unhappiness to yourself, you can change that dialogue and actually start saying, you know what, you do deserve this, you do deserve to be happy. You are beautiful. It's just about the way you say it to yourself. Because all of us have issues with ourselves. We all beat ourselves up about it. I mean, recently I did my first ever burlesque show, which was, I tell you what, if you never stood there in a thong and nipple tassels jiggling at a room full of people, you don't know what liberation feels like. But the great thing is that it was like a 6-week course, and I think there was about a dozen of us on the course, and every single woman on the course had a body confidence issue of some sort. They were too fat, or they never wore dresses, or they never wore makeup. Apparently one of the girls on the course had a penis, but I'm not sure which one that was. But the thing is, the sexiest thing that a woman can have is confidence and love for herself. And that's what I saw in that course. I went to see the previous course do their show at Christmas, and I'm sat there and I'm just bawling my eyes out, going, they're all so beautiful. Because they're all confident, they're all strong, and they're all proud. And that's what makes a woman sexy. It's not being a size 8 or something. It's like, it's confidence and being comfortable in your own skin. As soon as I started telling myself that I deserve love and I deserve to be happy, that's when I actually became happy. All those years I was, all those years, whenever the demons would come and try and take me, I was happy to go with them. It's like, you know what, you can have me. I do still have my demons, and they do still come and have a go at me sometimes. But you know what, I turn around to them and say, you know what, bugger off. You're not bloody having me. You had your chance. You had 48 years where I would have quite happily believed anything you told me. Not anymore. Because I bloody deserve this happiness. And I deserve to do something with my life. I was terrified. I was terrified that I would lose everything in my life. I was terrified that I would lose my job in football. I was terrified that I would lose my job working for a rock band that I love. I was terrified that I would lose my family. And yet, my career in football has been hard. I mean, I joked to my friend at the FA and said, who'd have thought the way to get invited to posh things at Wembley Stadium was to come out as transgender? I'd have done it years ago. And my relationship with the band I work for is deeply enhanced. I mean, what one of the guys' girlfriends said to me recently, she knows she met me as Steve, but she can't honestly remember anything about Steve because it just sort of blended into the background. But no one would ever say, who's Sophie? And my family are the most amazing thing in my life. And I was terrified that I would lose them. And my 15-year-old son, he would just say it like it is. So the first time he ever met me as Sophie, he just looked up and we went, you look weird. Thanks, mate. We're going to make a girl feel special. God, he's such a smoothie. And there was one time we were out in the back garden, he was leaning over the fence to the neighbours, he went, Daddy's a lady. It's right, they knew, he wasn't outing me on it. And my 12-year-old daughter that I love dearly, who proves to me that everything in life happens for a reason. See, if I'd actually transitioned in 2000, maybe I'd have avoided that 15 years of pain and that 15 years of wanting to kill myself every single day. But I wouldn't have her. And you know what? She's worth 15 years of pain. And she's 12, so I've probably got another 15 years of pain coming. But to me, she summed it up when last year she went on one of my Facebook posts and she put, "You're my hero. Steve was great, but Sophie's better." Thank you very much, everyone. Questions?
I'd like to ask a question. If your parents are still around, what do your parents think? And ignore my question if it's not.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. Because when I first met the players, I said to them, you know what? I will answer any question 100% honestly and openly. My parents I thought were okay with it, but actually they're not. So basically my family is now 3 people. I find it really difficult because, like I say about my youngest daughter being 12 and me first attempting suicide, there is nothing my children could do that means I wouldn't love them. But sometimes people focus on what they've lost. The reality is that they haven't lost anything. They had a child, they've still got a child. Their child used to wanting to kill themselves every single day. Now they've got a child who's happy. So quite frankly, and I know people say to me, and Dawn will probably ever go to me, "You need to give them time." It's like, I'm sorry, but I can't get beyond that fact. The fact is, your child spent 36 years wanting to kill themselves and now they don't. That's the only fact you need to think about. So yeah. So my family's quite small at the moment. But it's quality rather than quantity. So. Anyone else? Oh. She was noisier than you.
I can be noisy.
My friend's 13-year-old daughter who's just said she wants to be transgender.
Doesn't want to be transgender.
Well,
she is.
transgender. What advice would you offer to her as a parent?
Listen and love. The thing is, being trans isn't something you have to stress about. I mean, the latest research shows that it happens in the womb. I was born this way. It takes time for awareness to come. I mean, there are certain people that think, how can you let a child decide what their gender identity is? But the reality is, as we're growing up, every single person in this room and every single person you know made a decision at some point or other about their gender identity and their sexuality. It's just for most people, no one notices, because it's exactly what they're expecting. So all of you decided, I feel comfortable with my body and the gender that I was born into, and I feel comfortable with whatever my sexuality is. But you've all made that decision. Unless you're LGBT, no one actually pays any notice to that decision. The important thing with a child is you've got to listen, you've got to believe them, and you can't dismiss it. Because the alternative is that they think about suicide. And the thought of any child thinking about that is heartbreaking. I mean, if you want to put me in touch with them, I'd gladly speak to them. I'm not an expert other than my experience, but hopefully I can try and normalise things for them. And just, it's about loving each other. how can you not love your child, whatever they say to you? And you've got to take them seriously. You can't just go, oh, it's just a phase. Because it's not. I mean, God. If it was a phase for me when I was 7, well, now I'm not 7. But it's like, it's only, didn't all have to agree with me, because I'm 26 now. But the thing is, it's just being open and understanding and caring. Oh, if you changed my note. Dramatic pause. Basically, I've used no support whatsoever. I know there's various things out there, support groups, both online and in the real world, and there's various things that the NHS provide, various things that groups of volunteers provide. I mean, locally you've got things like, for transgender people, there's things like the group Cameo, and there's various Facebook groups and things like that. There's also things like LGBT Switchboard and all that. They can help people, especially if they're struggling with mental health issues around it as well. But basically, I just, pretty much like everything I've ever done in my life, I just made it up as I went along. Photography, I taught myself to drive. Yeah. But the thing is, support groups can be good, because they can help people in a difficult point. But the problem is that sometimes support groups can just focus on the negative and just be too much about what's wrong with us, rather than celebrating actually what's right with us. Because I actually got a lot of abuse online from the transgender community, because I'm actually proud of who I am. And quite frankly, I shouldn't be. I should be hiding and pretending that I'm not. But you know what? If I subscribe to all of the things that transgender people are told about how we should be, I wouldn't be doing the job I'm doing. Because the thing is, for transgender people, there's this concept called passing, which means you walk down the street and no one knows you're transgender. Now, early last year, I moved to Birmingham for 6 weeks, and it was horrible. I was terrified. I couldn't leave my house a lot of days. I remember one day I was walking down the road in a group of shops, and just after a secondary school had kicked out, and a group of about a dozen teenage boys all started shouting, "It's a man," and abusing me. And I was broken, I was terrified. I was walking down the road, head down, sort of coat around, and just walked all the way back to my car, rushed all the way home, ate loads of junk food, loads of ice cream, chocolate, and drank loads of wine. Which apparently is a very female thing to do with. But I had to make this decision. If I was going to carry on doing what I love doing, the football and the music, then I had to say, you know what, every single person I meet in life knows I'm transgender. Every person I meet knows that. You know what, I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue. As long as they perceive me as being a woman, that's all that matters. I mean, obviously I do. I was joking to, well, actually I wasn't really joking, it was an observation more than anything. Basically, the word that I use most in my vocabulary, if we walked around with one of those tag clouds around our heads, basically my most used word would be madam, just after someone's called me sir. It's like I was speaking at Manchester College on Monday, and I went down to check out a reception at a hotel, just pretty much like this. Are you checking out, sir? How many clues do you need? Dress, heels, hair, makeup. But the thing is, the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes within the communities themselves, there can be these prejudices and inbuilt bigotry. I mean, I get bigotry from lesbian, gay and bi people just because I'm trans. It's like, really? Let's be friends. So, yeah. I know I veered off. Jumped on this soapbox. But yeah.
Can you legally change your status or is it
I on the way here, I went in my handbag and I pulled out the door with my passport and went, I really should remember to take this out of my handbag, really, shouldn't I? Basically, I now have a passport that says female. My driving license says female. Because I can. It's also possible to change your birth certificate as well. But that's a lot more hoops to jump through, and quite frankly, I don't feel the need to personally. For some transgender people, they totally deny who they were before, and they don't want anyone to know that they've got a backstory. But quite frankly, I haven't got any choice. Everyone knows I've got a backstory, so I don't have an issue with that. So I'm not going to change my birth certificate at any point. But yeah, my passport says female, and I was really pleased when I went to Paris last week that I went through French immigration and they didn't decide to do a body cavity search. It's like, look me up and down going, I know you can't see my genitals, but yeah, but that's what it says on the paperwork. But yeah, so there you go.
Excuse me, does that mean then one doesn't have to have an operation to be legally a female on a passport then?
Basically, what I had to do, I had to get a letter from my GP saying that my gender change was considered to be permanent.
So it's a psychological change?
Oh, gotcha. I don't become a woman
No.
when they take me in and do a little bit snip and tuck and... I mean, I've always been a woman, but the point that so the world became a woman was when I decided that that's the way I had to live my life. What happens to my genitals is irrelevant to whether I'm a woman or not. The people that think that a woman is basically about having a vagina are no different to misogynists. Misogynists just think that a woman's a walking vagina.
Yeah.
But they're not. A woman's a soul and a heart and all these wonderful things. So yeah, basically, the point that a trans person truly becomes a woman is the point they decide that's the way they've got to live their life. And that is just a step on that journey. It's not the defining moment.
So if you move to Brighton,
Yeah.
it's easier in Brighton, you said. Are you going to be moving back?
Oh,
Or is
God,
that
no.
somewhere? No?
Christ, no.
Right,
Brighton,
no.
no.
Is that where you're going to stay?
Oh, gotcha. The thing is, Bournemouth was Steve's home. Bournemouth was definitely Steve's home. Within days of arriving in Brighton, I realised it was Sophie's home. I've loved Brighton ever since I went there as a 12-year-old mod to chase rockers down the road without my parents knowing. And it was a town that I always used to love to visit. And I tell you what, living there is amazing. If the whole world was like Brighton, we wouldn't have wars. We also wouldn't have George Osborne. But yeah, Brighton's amazing. I still love Bournemouth. Bournemouth's still sort of, it's my hometown. But Brighton is my home now.
Is it difficult, obviously, moving to Brighton and stuff in a new life, but obviously you have to involve it. Is it difficult having a live-in parent to then relocate and not having
Incredibly.
that daily?
Incredible.
Yeah, face-to-face.
I love my children more than anything. The only thing is that they're teenagers.
Yeah.
So like, I will go back now. And I'll walk in the door, and it'll be like, cuddle, and it'll be like, cuddle. You haven't seen me for 2 weeks. So as much as like it's difficult, it sort of makes me feel glad that like it's not like their heart's broken because I'm not there. And they do see me quite often, and basically when I'm here, they actually just ignore me anyway, don't they? It's like they don't notice I'm there. It's like, quite frankly, I could still be in Brighton and they have more interaction with me. So.
Mine's not really a question, it's more an assumption. I assume you must have had tremendous support from Dawn over this period of time.
This is where
Don't get emotional.
Sorry if I touched you there.
Right. This is where we see who cries the first. Dawn is the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life. She's more beautiful now than the day I met her. And, well, actually, no, that's a fact. If you saw the pictures. Oh God, yeah. I certainly look better now than I did back then.
Really gorgeous young ladies in the room. You're all going to get better.
Unless you don't, in which case you just get worse. I've been married twice. And the two people I've married could be more different. All the people that know Dawn knows what an amazing, wonderful, warm, supportive person she is. I feel truly blessed and gifted that she's been part of my life. She's been part of my life for 20 years. And it would break my heart if she wasn't part of my life now. We're best friends, and hopefully we'll always be best friends. It was very difficult for me to let go because my feelings towards her didn't change. I still love her, but life changes. And it's very important that I let go when I did, because otherwise I'd have made things difficult. But I'm still madly in love with her and still immensely proud of her because she's just wonderful. And I couldn't imagine my life without her. And I mean, obviously I've got better fashion sense.
You're like a teenager in age. And I'm a nearly 50-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Who's lived in my life as a woman.
Okay. I'm a 50-year-old woman with nice perky teenage boobies. Hence the burlesque show with the tassels. Quite frankly, mine haven't had a chance to drink yet. Quite frankly, looking like this, I won't be walking for long. Anyone else? I think everyone's had enough now.
Another question, sorry. You know Caitlyn Jenner?
Yeah.
Do you think that she has helped transgender people or not?
Caitlyn Jenner has both of those things because she and Kelly Maloney, she's a friend of mine. She's a lovely woman. Caitlyn Jenner has helped trans people through her profile because it made it very much in the media, so it got a lot of exposure. She's also helped it in the same way that she hasn't helped it, because basically trans people are there's still parts of their core personality and parts of their core soul that don't change. I've always had the same beliefs that I have now. Caitlyn Jenner still got the same beliefs that she had when she was pretending to be Bruce. So she's a Republican. She's quite a right-wing Republican, and she doesn't believe in gay marriage and things like this. Which, whilst most LGBT people look at it and go, what? Because quite frankly, how can you be LGBT and be a Republican and all this sort of rubbish that she believes in? But what it proves is that we're all different. We don't automatically fit a stereotype. I mean, I was recently talking to a production company about a TV show, and that they met us, and basically they decided that they turned around and said, the really interesting is that all the trans people we've met are totally different, and that's the point. The one thing we've got in common is that we were born in the wrong body. I get it quite often where I meet people and they go, oh, you must meet so-and-so, they're transgender, you must have so much in common. No, only that we got the wrong genitals. Quite frankly, it's like the old thing of like when you go, oh, you must meet so-and-so, they're from England as well, so you must know them. And Barbara probably gets this with people going, I know a Canadian, you must talk to them.
All the time.
Yeah, but that's it. Just because I've got the same genital abnormality as someone else doesn't mean that we've got anything in common whatsoever. And that's one of the things that Caitlyn Jenner's proved. The fact that we are all different and we are all individuals. I mean, the fact that she's now supporting Donald Trump is totally incomprehensible.
One of the reasons I asked the question is that a friend of mine who actually is straight, but she's a professional dominatrix, so she also does burlesque. And she seems to have like a hatred for Caitlyn Jenner.
Lots of people do.
And I can understand it. And one of the reasons she has a hatred for her is that she says that Caitlyn Jenner is extraordinarily wealthy. So it is perhaps easier for her. I don't know.
Of course it is. It's always easy for wealthy people. Everything in life is easier for wealthy people. I mean, I've heard this argument from a lot of people in the trans community. She doesn't represent our reality because she could afford to have all this surgery. If we had the money, we'd do the same thing. The reality is, if someone's got money, they're going to do it. If they haven't got money, they have to put up with the shit in their life. But that's real life. And it's not specific to trans people, it's specific to everyone in all walks of life. So I don't begrudge her that any more than I begrudge any other rich person, the amazing castles and the speedboats parked on the drive and obviously 15 helicopters on the lawn. But the thing is, it's not a trans specific thing, it's just if we had the money we'd do the same. So yeah. Unfortunately I'm stuck with this.
Have you ever joined any clubs that are ladies' clubs?
I have, yes.
How did that go down? I'll tell you why I'm asking that. I run a ladies' club as well, a lunch club, and about 3 years ago, somebody joined that I hadn't met, and I met them at the venue, and they were like, no, my stress, and it was obviously a man. And so I had to do
Or a transgender woman.
Yeah.
It wasn't a man.
Right, I don't know. So she or he came 3 or 4 times, and there was a lot of tatting with the ladies because they felt a bit awkward. I said, I've got to be careful, you can't just say you can't come, can you? It's quality and all that. I said, I don't have a problem. So I deliberately sat next to the person one lunch and said, so Diane, do you have any children? I thought that's a good thing to ask. And they said no, they weren't able to have them. And then they confessed to me. She, sorry. And I said that I don't have a problem, but some of the ladies are talking. And she wrote me a letter that night, so I decided to resign. And it's
It's
sad,
a real
isn't it?
pity. Because the thing is,
What is the difference then between, obviously the person that is a transgender knows that there's a difference between a man that likes to cross-dress. Yes, when you're going.
the thing is, you get cross-dressers and you get transvestites. They
Yes.
are men that do it for a sexual reason or for a stress release reason. a transgender woman is someone who does it because they have no choice. It's who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I get no thrill out of dressing like this any more than any of you do. I mean, obviously, when we're dressed nice, you look in the mirror and go, pretty hot. But the thing is, it's not a sexual thing, it's who we are. And the thing is, as soon as someone identifies as female, you've got to treat them that way. Whether they, I mean, I haven't got a feminine voice. I had to make a decision. Do I have lots of speech therapy, or do I stick with the voice I've got? And the thing is, especially now that I'm doing all the speaking, it's really important that I can get emotion into what I'm saying. And I don't know if I could do that if I was trying to do that with a little breathy voice. And the thing is, and let's face it, I've had nearly 50 years of testosterone wrecking my body and doing horrible things to it. Quite frankly, if I'd been able to transition when I was 12, 13, wouldn't have happened. So I've got big shoulders, I've got big hands, I've got hairy legs. And you're not even wearing jeans. So you've got to respect that someone turns up with that identity, and
it's the law as well.
Yeah, it's also the law.
I'm an NHS worker, I can tell you it's the law.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I know that people do talk, and I know that people sometimes don't handle it very well. I mean, the most amazing thing for me about my transition has been the way that I've been sort of welcomed with open arms into the girls' gang. It's like you're one of us. It's like no one has ever treated me in a weird way. Women, men do all the bloody time, but it's like, because obviously they've got issues. But just this welcoming. Not the football team. They've been great.
Do you think that's because you're so open?
Yeah, openness is really important.
Yeah.
But it's like my burlesque class. It's like I when I first started going to it, I was a bit self-conscious because it's like I didn't want anyone else to feel uncomfortable. And the reality is that I'm now on my second burlesque course, and all the girls just treat me as one of the girls. It's like, it was quite funny, sort of, towards the end of the first course, one of the girls said to me, "You got a great bum." And I said, "To be honest, I have no idea what your bum looks like, because I made a really big point of just having eye contact with everyone, because I didn't want anyone to feel weird." I did check it out afterwards, and he was quite nice. But the thing is, like, I go to business events all the time, and I'm one of the girls. People don't treat me any different. So,
When you go into shops and get clothes, you go into shops and buy.
of course I do. Otherwise I'd be naked. I'm a woman. I walk into shops, I pick my clothes, I go in the changing room, try them on, go, "Oh, my arse looks big in that," put it back. "Oh, my arse looks big in that, but you know what, I can get away with that." But it's no different. I'm a woman. I just happen to have a slight genital defect.
Is it the people in the shops accept? Do you get prejudice?
People in shops are pretty much 100% okay, because they need to be, and and the thing is, if I was to walk in the shops and look furtive, it's like, then it gives people a reason to sort of wonder. I know who I am. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, the thing is, and there's this great thing that I've seen online, which is like, if you see someone and you're unsure about what gender they are, it's none of your business. Because that's the reality. It's like, what's going on underneath my dress is of no consequence to anyone. So there you go. Am I getting it? Wrap up?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Not that we want you to, but can we just give it a really big